Welcome back to the Sun's newsroom in New York. Joining me now is Claudia Conway, political influencer, daughter of Trump ally Kellyanne Conway, but down through the ballot Democrat yourself.
Absolutely, yes.
How does that work? Well, tell me about Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner around your house. Does it get quite leery?
I feel like it used to, but we've evolved as a family and a kind of just in that space talking about politics. I think that it's been super important to me to figure out a way to facilitate respectful and agreeable conversations, and dialogue within my family and with other people. So it's gotten a lot better. I voted with my mom today, actually.
Did you go down together?
Yes, we did. We voted together today.
Look, you've got a massive sort of Gen Z following. How are they taking the news right now? Because this isn't going well for the Democrats. The New York Times now have, I think, up to 80% chance of Donald Trump being their president. There's also talk of him winning the popular vote. Your generation must be losing their minds, right?
Absolutely. So I was actually just live on Instagram because I have so many people asking me, why is this state red? Why is this state blue? What does this mean? What does that mean? Because a lot of people my age, a lot of people do know, but a lot of people my age don't. You know, my friends and my peers, they haven't been tuned into the election like I have, or maybe you have, or other people who are in the space. So I've been taking it upon myself to kind of explain in layman's terms what's going on. As somebody who voted for Kamala Harris today, I am concerned. I will tell you that much. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to sit here like everybody else is and saying, "Oh, we'll win." I'm concerned. I don't know if Virginia was called. Was Virginia called?
Not yet. I don't think.
I'm concerned about Virginia. Very concerned about Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, and Michigan.
But all the bookies are saying he's going to take Pennsylvania as well.
So
looking like a landslide.
I don't know about Pennsylvania right now, but if he wins all four of those Sunbelt states, and I was just explaining this to my following, if he wins those Sunbelt states and takes Wisconsin or Michigan, we'll know by tonight if he's the president, or in the morning.
Given the absolute barrage the sort of mainstream media in this country is throwing at Donald Trump, calling him Hitler, campaigning in Madison Square Gardens was a Nazi rally. Is it that actually people are, if they just turned on their televisions last week, you'd have thought that Kamala Harris was going to walk this, and now actually once the voters had a say, people are going to start to feel cheated by this, and you're saying young people are confused by how the results are going. Is it that because the sort of coverage of this election has been fundamentally dishonest?
I think I can agree to that to a certain extent. I think we can look at 2016. I was only 12 during the 2016 election, but I remember full well that everybody thought Hillary Clinton was going to win. Very confident, way more confident than the Harris campaign is today. And Trump won in places that he wasn't supposed to win. And that whole election cycle, the media uplifted Hillary Clinton and kind of looked at Trump as a joke. And I just remember sitting with my mom, and obviously my mom was his campaign manager at the time, and I knew at that point that I disagreed with it, but she said, they should be taking me and this campaign seriously. And they didn't take it seriously, and that's what happened, and look where we are now.
Is that the same mistake that's happened again? They weren't taking it seriously?
I think that Trump has been taken way more seriously now. I'm not a fan of Donald Trump's rhetoric that he's been using. I'm really not. I think that, talking about Liz Cheney and guns and, these points that he's trying to make.
Doesn't exactly help himself, does it?
Yeah, absolutely not. And I think that I've spoken to a lot of Republicans and even MAGA Republicans in the past few weeks, and they've kind of agreed with the sentiment of his closing argument was not great, but that didn't really matter to a lot of voters.
Because the fundamentals hadn't really shifted in the last. Nothing's really changed since Harris, forced out Biden. There does seem to be. Look, I think the Trump campaign has been pinning a lot of resources and efforts into using untraditional media. The Joe Rogan podcast is obviously the most popular podcast.
Which was very smart, I have to say.
And is it that the pollsters, you think, aren't reaching that demographic, younger white men particularly?
I tend to look at these. I think everybody puts too much. These political pundits, they put too much of their trust into polls. These margin of errors, I think, are a lot bigger than would say they are. That Iowa poll that came out the other day by Ann Seltzer. She's a great pollster, but that poll that he's winning Iowa. There's no doubt in my mind he's winning Iowa. I mean, that's just a given.
I think they've already called that.
Yeah, that's a given. That was an absolutely easy win for him.
But it dominated the entire Sunday morning news media
and
as if it was a game changer.
That's all we were talking about, instead of, hey, this is what Kamala Harris is going to do, this is what Trump's going to do. And that's kind of, I think, the news cycles of this election cycle have been pinpointed on something every day that doesn't really have to do with what's at stake. And what I've seen, I'm very tuned in to this election. election. I'm tuned into the rhetoric. I watch Fox News and CNN all the time, all day, every day. And a lot of people aren't tuned in. They don't want to watch it. They don't care what Trump is saying. They don't care what Kamala Harris is saying. They didn't care.
What someone said to me is that Trump supporters take what he says, very seriously, but not literally. And people that hate him take him literally, but not seriously.
And so I think it's a dangerous line to walk between literally taking something literally and taking something figuratively. If he's saying something about women one day and something about Mike Tyson fighting Kamala Harris, which I think was obviously just a silly thing to say. Obviously that's But I saw a poll. Back to how polls aren't as accurate as we'd like them to be, about undecided voters. And most undecided voters that they polled decided who they're voting for 2 months ago.
Yeah.
There was a very small margin of portion of undecided voters.
A lot of expensive shouting, basically.
Correct. And people in Pennsylvania. I spoke to people in Pennsylvania, Republicans and Democrats, who were voting Democrat, Republican, and third party, and they were all sick of the advertising. Every billboard, every TV ad, every single one, and they were sick of it. But on both sides, sick, and that caused a lot of people to become apprehensive, especially. And so back to what you were saying about the mainstream media. I think we really have to fix how we report news. I think that Fox News needs to reform it, and CNN. I think the way that we report news needs to be reevaluated, because it drives voters away. Nobody wants to turn the TV on and see the chyron that says Trump acting like a lunatic. Nobody wants to.
How do you think? You say how is your generation going to take this news and they wake up tomorrow morning and Donald Trump's the president, which looks like in the likelihood he's going to be? Is he going to be accepted as a legitimate president, or is this row and this fight just carry on?
Well, I hope and I pray that if Donald Trump is elected president, that there is a peaceful transfer of power, which I don't doubt from Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. And I pray that we move forward as a country, because like I just said to my Gen Z followers,
your legions of fans,
I said, regardless of who wins this election, what you care about will still need work tomorrow, the next day, in 5 years, in 10 years. People are really worried about abortion rights. We don't even know if Roe v. Wade will be codified by.
But it wasn't really. They tried to make an election issue, but you can't change the Supreme Court overnight.
No,
so
absolutely.
It's not actually
these are gradual changes, and if Donald Trump is elected, which I personally hope he's not, but if he is, I will have him as my president, because I'm an American citizen.
Are you confident that your generation will do that as a whole, though?
No, I'm not entirely confident in that. I think because of how divisive the politics have become on both sides. More on the right when it comes to Donald Trump. I have to say that his rhetoric is way more divisive. I have to say that. Just my opinion.
Harris has been running a fairly negative campaign at the close, though.
I think there's some truth to that, but in my eyes, it's not comparable. And I know that people disagree with me on that. That's fine. You are. That's what I'm saying. That's what I said to a lot of people today.
You need to disagree amicably.
Exactly. We have to disagree. That's the whole thing. But if Donald Trump is elected tonight, tomorrow, Thursday, he will be the president. And I think there's nothing we can do except accept that, move on if that is the case, and work on what we want to work on.
You've lived and breathed politics, obviously, your whole life as someone who grew up in an incredibly political environment. What's your advice for living? You said you went and voted with your mum today. What's your advice to other people who are waking up tomorrow morning in a politically divided family? Mum's, dad's, siblings. How do you get through it? What's your key piece of advice?
I keep saying that it's better to occasionally speak over each other than to not speak at all. I think we are limiting ourselves and doing ourselves a disservice by not having conversations with people across the aisle, people across the dinner table, people in our homes, people at our schools, people at our places of work, just because we think that they believe something differently than us. Because the more we talk, and the more I've talked with Republicans and moderates and Democrats and liberals, that's why I'm an independent, because I know in my heart that I can have a conversation with somebody and make it nonpartisan. Just have a conversation. You believe in X, Y, and Z. I believe in X, Y, and Z over here. Yeah. And we can agree on some things and disagree on other things. My mom and I, we disagree on virtually everything. We do. And a lot of things that I'm really passionate about, like protecting women's health care, women's reproductive rights. She and I don't exactly see eye to eye on that, but she and I can have conversations where I can understand where she's coming from.
Without too much shouting.
Without us trying to kill each other. And I think that's what we need to do as Americans, because like it or not, whether or not Harris becomes president or Donald Trump becomes president, millions of people, half the country voted for Trump and half the country voted for Harris.
Yeah.
So there's a massive divide in our country, and we are only furthering the divide by staying in little bubbles of people who agree with us. That's why I keep going on podcasts and doing interviews with people who disagree with me. Like, I did a conservative podcast in the spring, and I got absolutely ripped for it by my following, ripped for it, because they're like, how could you talk to somebody who doesn't care about the things you believe in? That's exactly why I'm talking to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, to understand why that is, and for them to understand me. So that's what I think is the most important takeaway from this election. I think that regardless of who wins, we're going to have a really divided country, and we have to nip that in the bud immediately, because Trump's not going to be president forever. If Harris wins, she's not going to be president forever. So we got to learn.
Come around sooner than you think. Yeah.
Exactly. We're going to have new candidates in 4 or 8 years. Who knows? And we need to learn to coexist. Like this, we don't have to follow what Donald Trump is doing, what Kamala Harris is doing, what people in our politics are doing with their language. We don't have to do that. We are living completely different lives. I'm not running for president of the United States. I don't have to get up on a stage in front of thousands and thousands of people and rip my political opponent. No, I can sit at a dinner table with my aunts and my uncles, and I can say, hey, how are you feeling about this election? And they can look at me and say, well, Trump all the way, and I can say, okay.
Cool.
Great.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. I strongly believe against that, but you're my family and we can coexist.
Claudia Conway, thank you. I think that was one of the more optimistic guests we've had. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Plenty more coming. Don't go away.